Welcome back to Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce. I'm Amanda Del Buno. Today, Christine LaFave Grace speaks with Mehandru, COO of mHUB, a Chicago-based innovation center. In their discussion, they talk about how mHUB fosters connections between local manufacturers, university researchers, and entrepreneurs, and how it helps connect manufacturers with research and development talent. Here's their interview.
The focus of many of our conversations here on Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce is on how manufacturers can build their talent pipeline, whether that's through apprenticeships or partnerships with local schools or training organizations to meet specific skills demands. But what about when there's a need for a highly specialized type of skill or capabilities that a manufacturing organization just doesn't have in-house? I'm talking today with Mehandru, COO of mHUB, a Chicago-based innovation center focused on physical product development and manufacturing. Launched in 2016, mHUB exists to foster connections between local manufacturers, university researchers, and Chicago's entrepreneurial community of makers and technologists. Among mHUB's many initiatives is a sort of matchmaking program for manufacturers to connect Midwestern manufacturing companies with, especially, research and development talent. Mana, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to ask, you're an electrical engineer by training. We think of this idea of necessity being the mother of invention. What was the necessity identified within industry that led to the creation of this initiative?
So we certainly engaged the industry to hear all of the opportunities out there. And I think that the one thing that stood out was that there wasn't a shortage of opportunities for them to develop ideas, develop concepts, and really innovate. The challenge was really taking that next step, investing in that R&D in the right people to solve the right problems. And so what we really did and what we focused in on was, hey, how can we leverage the pool of talent that exists at mHUB to help support some of that and really turn those opportunities into real ideas, real products that could be marketed and then grow.
So tell me a little bit about how this program is structured. What does it look like? If I'm a manufacturer coming in, how can I take advantage of this kind of opportunity?
Great question. So a lot of manufacturers have very specific needs, as you mentioned before. They may need someone to really focus on maybe fluid dynamics or someone who's really well informed in how to develop a connected device or turn something into a 5G type product. And they may have that for one deviation of a product that already exists. So for them, they can come to us, and we've got really the backgrounds of all of our members very well organized. And so very quickly we can connect them to the right resource, to the right talent that could solve their specific need. And so often they approach us, they come to us with a problem statement or opportunity statement. We'll work together to say, hey, you need an electrical engineer, you need maybe a mechanical engineer that's really strong on fluid dynamics, and we'll create that connection and help them develop a product or take their concept to the next stage.
On the back end as well, for maybe individual contractors or individual members, what is that process like? How do they connect with you of, okay, I'm an electrical engineer, or I have experience, knowledge, and the background to kind of help companies with maybe a 5G initiative? How would I then connect with mHUB to be able to connect with companies that could utilize my talent?
So really, most of our members are just entrepreneurs, right? And being an entrepreneur is probably the most vulnerable position you could possibly be in, right? You're going out there without any real income, potentially if you're early on, if you're early stage, and you're betting on yourself, and you're betting on your talent. And as scary as that can be, the opportunity and the potential is incredibly high. But the runway is often short. You don't have a lot of money that's funding this. And so for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a way for them to hedge their risk a little bit, right? So they're working on their own product. They've got these skills. And by being in our contractor pool, they say, hey, I've got these skills. If a project comes up where I can be of service, I'd be happy to be, consulted with or asked if I'm interested in participating. And so for many of them, they're working on their own products, often strapped for cash. And so if they've got an opportunity to work on a side project for, a week or two, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter, it's a great opportunity to get a little safety net for them to increase their runway and then also make them a little more comfortable on the day-to-day.
Yeah, and to gain exposure in ways that they wouldn't in their everyday. For all of the side hustles that we think of, we don't tend to think of manufacturing side hustles.
Right. No, that's very true. And the other side of this is you actually gain some perspective from going through these projects as well, right? So you get a little domain experience in whatever the industry may be, and that you'll learn from every one of these experiences. You also get a little perspective and build some connections within the community. And I think that's a big part of this. I think historically, entrepreneurs operate in one world in a very different environment than industry, whether it's, large corporates or whether it's, small, medium manufacturers. And so there's strengths on both sides and there's weaknesses on both sides, but getting those two groups together to truly appreciate what each can bring to the table has been rewarding for both sides that we see.
Obviously, the entrepreneurial mindset, you're open to some different ideas and approaches, different ways of doing things. That's what innovation is all about. For long-time manufacturing companies, long-time players in industry, do you see a growing appetite for or awareness of the opportunity to engage talent in different ways, or even in kind of a gig environment like this?
I do, and so part of it is fun, I would say. If you're a large corporate, it doesn't take a lot of money to engage and test something out. And make no mistake, if you're going to be innovative, there's risk involved, right? You could, you're betting on something that may or may not be likely to happen, but if it happens, the small bet can pay off big. And so to be able to step in and smaller engagements and kind of test the waters a little bit is incredibly exciting for corporates. And the risk is relatively small because they're not putting $1 million down. It's often our projects just start off with $10,000 or even less. It's just, hey, let's take a look at this, see what can be built. You get some ideation sessions and build some real excitement of, hey, there's something here. And so while I don't know that any manufacturer would jump in and do all of their innovation and all of their work this way, being able to test the water and still be innovative while maintaining your core has been, I think, really interesting for both sides.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And you may not be able to speak in very specific terms here, but do you have any favorite stories of connections that have been made through mHUB in this way?
So I've got a couple, and I'll try not to be too specific here.
Right.
So I'd say there's been one product in particular where a manufacturer came to us. They had a challenge that they were hearing from their end customer. Largely related to quality of deliverable of their product, right? So the quality of the output. And, they had been taking a look at this thing and staring at it for a long time, just couldn't come up with something that would solve their problem. Fairly quickly, the group that they were working with had a pretty innovative solution that was outside the box, relatively simple on its surface. But within 3 weeks, we were able to deliver something that made their product faster, more consistent, improved the quality of the output, really inexpensively. And
in 3 weeks,
in 3 weeks, they had a working prototype. So they basically took the manufacturer's product, adapted it with this new technology, added an algorithm, put some software behind it, as well as some hardware to not only make this product faster, but it made the quality significantly better and differentiated their product tremendously. So that was great in that, and I used to say that sometimes you can't smell the soup from within the pot. When you're working with an organization for so long, sometimes it's just hard to see the opportunities. And so bringing some fresh eyes to the table especially ones with a different skill set and a different knowledge base, can really just change your perspective on things and change the way you view a product.
Yeah, and like you said, in such a low-risk environment, such a low-risk way to do that. That's
right.
Yeah. And to produce an aha moment like that, how invigorating then does that have to be for frankly the entire team on staff when you see like, oh well, there it is, and now, what's the next opportunity?
Yeah, so it's validating for both sides, and that's what's awesome. So certainly, the entrepreneurs feel a tremendous amount of pride in saying, hey, they just took a product that's existed for 50 years, and made it twice as fast and significantly higher quality in a few months. But entrepreneurs also know the struggle of innovating, right? They may have a good product idea, but getting to market and understanding your customers and what the needs are often a challenge. And so taking a look at having a manufacturer come to you and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do, and then they work together and then appreciate, wow, the scale of this and the sales channels that you have and the fact that you had this domain knowledge and this opportunity was there.
Yeah.
That market position is incredible, and has been built often over decades, right? And so there's an appreciation on both sides of, hey, yeah, we did this, we can see how to do this easily, but how do you market this? How do you sell this? How are you going to scale this solution? And often the manufacturers know very clearly how they're going to do that. Right.
Yeah, really a win-win for broadening perspective. That's really cool. As the manufacturing roles change, changing manufacturing roles demand changing approaches to workforce development and to sourcing talent. So when we're thinking about that broadly, what do you see as some key things that manufacturers should keep in mind, in planning strategically to meet these quickly evolving workforce and skilled talent needs?
Yeah, so there's certainly different challenges here. I think, fundamentally at its core, workforce will continue to evolve. It has evolved. It's no secret that there's a shortage of, medium-skilled, high-skilled labor in the manufacturing sector, certainly with a lot, approaching retirement. I think what's important is to understand really where your products are going, where your business is going. And I think if you're focused purely on what you do today and who you are today and what those needs are, you'll know what skill set you'll need. But if you do have an intention to invest in R&D, invest in your growth, you'll get a little bit of your current workforce needs, and you'll need a little bit of kind of what does it look like in 5 years from now to adapt to the world that we're in. And so being understanding of really what those needs are and then what the pipelines are to attract that talent, to train them, and then what the appropriate compensations are at kind of each of these levels is certainly something to be familiar with and understand how it affects your business.
As COO of mHUB, and mHUB being a fairly young organization, what are some things that you are looking forward to in the next 12 or 18 months or so?
Wow. There's so much. So, I would say I'm excited about the energy in the hardware space, and that, so over the past 2 years or so, we've seen certainly growth in our community, more engagement from partners, more excitement around potential solutions. Product Development Services has done a lot to kind of show us, hey, at our core mission, when we bring manufacturing entrepreneurship together and innovation together, what can happen? And bringing together those two disconnected groups is proving promising, right? And efficient. Now, kind of the future of technology is, I think, very different than what it was 10 years ago. When we looked 10 years ago, a lot of the predictions out there, the investment predictions, were really focused in on software. There was, I would say, a lot of digital advertising type stuff. There was a lot of CRM activity. a lot of software. These days, we're starting to see a turn to that software being embedded into products, right from manufacturers. I mean, even the Googles of the world now are becoming product-based businesses with, Nest, Google Home.
Sure.
Apple certainly always has been, but the expectation for the market is that this is where things are going to go. You're going to see smart robots more and more. You're going to see industrial IoT where there's software embedded in this hardware, and there's no one better positioned to understand what the needs of the market are and what the needs of the products are. No one's better positioned than existing manufacturers.
Right.
And what's exciting to us is just that domain knowledge really here in the Midwest is incredibly valuable and is just waiting to be capitalized and waiting to grow. And I think if you look at prediction curves really of what's coming in the next 10 years, 90% of it is hardware-based, while 10 years ago it was 90% software-based. So, and I'll say 90% hardware and software combination, but it lands in hardware. And so the voice and the person driving and the people driving that are going to be who owns those customers, and that's the manufacturing sector.
Right. And finally, to close out today, it seems like you see, especially in the past several years, kind of a greater spirit of collaboration among industry players as well as regional development groups, a greater maybe awareness of the need for collaboration to move industry as a whole forward. Could you tell me just a little bit about if that's something that you're seeing in ways that you see that play out at mHUB?
So mHUB really started from the industry itself saying, hey, this is what we need. We've got two main issues, one of them being workforce, one of them being innovation. And so the concept and really the foundation of mHUB was built and driven by a group of manufacturers here in Chicago. And so there was an understanding now how to accomplish that and how to do that, I think, was a little uncertain. And then how it materialized and present itself, I think, was too. And I would say we're still, we're a couple years in, and we're starting to see some of these interactions, and I think you build a lot of momentum with that. Each of these stories, each of these case studies is incredibly powerful. And so I'm really excited to see what it looks like a year from now and 2 years from now and 3 years from now. But I think there's definitely an appreciation of what the opportunity is out there and how collaboration could not just identify them, but could deliver on the promise of that opportunity. And so I really do expect over the next year or so, we're just going to see more and more people jumping at the chance to sit at the table to see how we can collectively work together in an open innovation environment to prop up the entire industry as a whole.
That's great. Well, Mana, thank you again so much for joining me today. Thanks for listening in. For Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce, I'm Christine LaFave Grace. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.
That was Christine's interview with mHUB's Mehandru. Check back in 2 weeks for the next episode of Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce. Have a great day.